Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Elise Diamantini. I'm the Content Marketing Manager for Informa Markets, which produces the leading fashion trade events like Magic, Project, Coterie, New York Women's, Mecom Americas, and Children's Club. We hope everyone is doing well and staying safe and healthy. Today's webinar is the third in our series, focusing on independent specialty stores across women's, men's, footwear, and children's. And they'll all share insight on the evolving landscape, refocused business plans, and future outlooks. We'll get into that shortly, but first, a few housekeeping items. Number one, please note you will be placed on mute for the duration of the call. All questions will be addressed via the Q&A log or at the end of the presentation. We will do our best to get to as many of the audience questions as possible. If you experience any issues, click on the help option on your registration reminder email. And lastly, this presentation will be emailed to you in the next few days, and it will also be available on our content site, fashionframeworks.com. We'd also like to mention that our leading trade events, Magic, Coterie, Project, Children's Club, New York Women's, and Mecom Americas, are proud to provide this webinar free of charge to our community members, and we would like to thank all of our participants for their time. We applaud the CFDA for their initiative, A Common Thread, and invite anyone interested to make a small donation. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Brian Trenzo, Head of Sales for Men's Fashion. Brian, take it away.
Thank you, Elise. I'll start by introducing our speakers, of course. We have a really great group of panelists today from across the United States, across men's, women's, footwear, and children's. So first we have Ken Giddin, co-owner of Rothman's, a men's specialty store with 3 locations in New York, including its flagship in the epicenter of this pandemic, New York City, of course. We have Maureen Doran, owner of Skirt, a women's boutique with 2 locations in Pennsylvania and a 3rd in New Jersey. We also have Rick Ravel, president of Caravel Shoes, a footwear store with 2 locations in Austin, Texas. And finally, we have Maggie Tucker, owner of Magpies Nashville, the children's boutique with 3 locations in, of course, Nashville. So as I had mentioned, we have a really great representation of many different types of stores in many different regions of the United States. So to really start off this panel discussion, I was curious how your geography has uniquely affected your operations at this time. So it might be appropriate to start with Ken, who is right smack in the middle of the pandemic. So Ken, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Brian. You know, we are in the epicenter. I'd say from talking to a lot of people across the country, the most interesting thing is how different things are here. I mean, New York is completely shut down, and we were the first shut down, and we're probably going to be like the last to come out of it. We're not really thinking about reopening yet in terms of a specific date. And it's just, you know, it's very different here. It's so real here because if you live in New York, you've lost friends and colleagues. I mean, it's that personal. So, you know, it's not only that business has changed, society has changed.
Yeah, you know, Rick, you're over in Texas, and you were mentioning yesterday that you're gearing up to open. So I think it would be appropriate to go to you next.
Well, we shut down on the 23rd of March. I remember it was a Tuesday. The city actually and the county shut everybody down. We have, during that time, we cleaned the store and got everything ready. Texas had not, I think about half the counties in Texas had no cases. Now the governor has opened it up. And every day, like now we're up to 1,000 cases and testing more and more. And it's getting, you know, if you looked at the states, we're one of the red states, which most of them were there. It's growing instead of peaking. So we haven't gotten even near close. So, but we've taken a lot of precautions for our staff and for our customers.
Maggie, you want to jump in there and explain how it is in Nashville?
Yeah, the stay-home order hasn't been lifted yet for retail operations. It's scheduled to lift in our county, which is Davidson County, Friday at midnight. The counties all around us, the stay-home orders lifted on the 1st. So the traffic is moving. There are definitely people out and about. If you drive 5 or 6 miles south of where my store is, you're in a different county, and it's like a different world. Businesses are being patroned, stores have shoppers. I would say, everybody seems to be really mindful. Most people are out with masks on. Whenever you go into groceries or you're going into stores, you're having, to wear a mask. And I think people are very willing to abide by mask and gloves, because I think all of us, are going to approach this just really mindfully. So we are excited to start the reopening phases starting basically next week. I think we're going to be still a couple weeks away from physically starting to let customers in our stores.
And Maureen, last with you, the locations that you have outside of Philadelphia and in South Jersey, that's close enough in proximity to the epicenter. So you're kind of bridging the, suburban with city. How has that been unique for you and your clientele? Maureen, it appears that you may be on mute, or at least I cannot hear you.
I forgot to unmute myself, everyone. Okay. I'd say we're somewhere in the middle of what these other retailers talked about. We closed on March 15th. All of the areas that my stores are located in are still shelter in place. So no businesses are open or have been given a date to open yet. And from what we've been told in Pennsylvania from the government, when we move into the next phase of reopening, when we are allowed to regain some of our social interactions, leave our homes again, businesses, retail businesses, clothing stores in particular, will only be moved to allow for curbside pickup. We have not been given any sort of date in the near future that we will even be allowed to open with limited capacity.
On that note, that brings me to digital. Each of you have varying degrees of digital operations, and obviously, as specialty retailers, you embody this sort of can-do attitude that a lot of small and mid-sized businesses have embodied during this pandemic. So I'm curious to hear about how you've been utilizing digital. Maybe there were some projects that you had lined up that you've been forced to expedite. So maybe sticking with you, Maureen, if you want to talk about your digital efforts and how you've been forced to change or adapt at this time.
The first, I definitely was a retailer that resisted digital, coming clean with that right from the bat. I just thought my expertise is in my relationships with my clients, and we definitely pride ourselves in that, and that's what differentiates us in the market. And I definitely had to rethink that. But I think we found a way to still rely heavily on our relationships with our clients and our expertise in clienteling, and combine that with digital efforts. And so we started out from the get with doing approval boxes and getting the word out about that, which is, sending, we closed our stores on March 15th with this massive amounts of inventory. We were geared up for a spring season, filled to the brim with great product and no way to get it out. I did not have any form of a website at all. So we started out with something that we always had on a small scale, which was something we called a style box. And we would, much like the platforms that lots of you are familiar with, we'll send you a box filled with great stuff. You try it out at home, keep what you like, send back the rest, only pay for what you keep. So we instantly launched that into high gear, and we used social media to get the word out. Some email, but really social media is what worked. And it was our relationships with our clients that enabled that to work. it was texting with clients. They were still really open to texting, and they really became, we were really scared to get up there on social media and speak, and would this seem insensitive, and to talk about clothes in the midst of such serious things. But we did it carefully, and we did it authentically, and we just talked like we were talking to each other, and people responded to that. And then now slowly, just about 10 days ago, we launched a small website, and that has gotten a great response too. And it's allowed us, some customer acquisition, so that when people make small orders on our website, we're then reaching out to them to say, like, hey, we noticed you bought the such and such blouse. Hey, are you open to a chat? Let me talk to you about some things I think would be great with that. So we can also send you a box of more stuff. So that's how we've used digital platforms to continue what we do best, which is work with clients on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah, it's that level of old school clienteling that's really shining right now at the specialty stores, looking at social media platforms like Instagram. Maggie, I was digging through your social media as well, and I saw some either Instagram stories or IGTV or something where you seem to be overwhelmed with curbside pickup orders. So can you talk a little bit about this strategy and sort of how you've been using social media and how it's affected your business?
Yes. We started curbside maybe the week after Easter. I don't think we're really supposed to be doing it. But that's what made sense for me and for my business. And, nobody was coming to put food on my table or pay my rent. So we started curbside. And I started it out of feedback from my customers. We started shipping everything. I think we switched. I can't remember dates. It's like the Twilight Zone. But I think we switched everything to an online platform around like the 20th, maybe sooner, maybe even like the 16th. And I had teams at all locations just loading every single piece of inventory online. And we were shipping for free at that point, and we shipped for free through Easter. And like right after Easter, all of my customers like locally reached out, and they were like, you don't have to ship my stuff for free. I'll just come pick it up. And so I didn't market that we were doing curbside. I just quietly responded through DM, like, don't tell anybody but your bag's outside. And then like 2 weeks later, I looked up and we've got, 40 orders outside the store. And I'm like, this is working. My customers are asking for it. There's no contact. I put their bags outside. People were leaving the house to go to the grocery store. They could swing by Magpies and grab their order. So the curbside thing has been great because obviously I'm not having to pay $10 every time I ship something, within a 1 to 5 mile radius. We did do delivery like the first week of not the shutdown of our city, but the first week that we stopped letting customers in the store a week before the shutdown. We did deliveries that week, but it was too much. I mean, it was just too much. So curbside's been great. I actually think curbside is going to be a part of our business for the indefinite future.
Rick, I would like to hear your views on that. I was curious, your business is over 80 years in business, so you guys had to adapt with the times and change your business model over the course of 80 years, I'm sure. And digging around digitally, I see that you too are experimenting with things like social media and, of course, curbside pickup. So can you speak on your strategy and if you see the conditioning of your customers to be something that is going to be permanent moving forward?
After we closed, we started putting an email blast out to our customers saying, if you need something to call us. And we took phone orders and we shipped out. And then we started having people say, well, I'll just come pick it up. So we went to curbside. We have been dealing with Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. We have somebody on staff who handles that for us and very familiar with it. We find the email blasts are actually the best thing that works for us. We have had a website, but it did not sell. It was not an e-commerce site. We had been looking at it over the last 10 years and had not received a lot of positive responses from small retailers in our national trade organization. So we sort of held off. And then when we shut down, one of our staff said, hey, we need to do this. It was on our list to do. And while he was furloughed, In 2 weeks, he put together our website, an e-commerce site, and now we've been up 4 weeks. Saturday be 4 weeks, and it's just growing a little bit every day. It's just extra sales. And a lot of them are coming to pick up, interestingly enough. But we opened actually Monday. So this is our 4th day. We set our store up totally differently, put in fitting areas. But bottom line is that still the email blasts work the best for us. And the website has definitely been plus business to us.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, that it's what works for you. And, finishing this line of questioning with Ken, it seems to be that your growing list of selfies of clients and friends and family members who are associated with Rothmans and an iconic Rothmans tee seems to be working for you. So one, I would love to hear how that got started, and two, other efforts that you've been putting forth that have been working for Rothmans.
The T-shirt thing's been a lot of fun. We have a Rothmans T-shirt that's just made for us, and happens to be a super comfortable shirt. And we wanted to let people, it's a way of calling out. The Rothmans T-shirt represents, not only small business, because people know it as a family business, but also community and New York. And so we just started, over time, people had worn them in all these different places, and they would send us pictures of them. So that was a lot of fun. And then as this came along, as the COVID crisis came along, it represented our community. And, so now I'm getting more and more pictures of people saying, hey, I'm working from home and this. And, over in the past, we've had all 7 are there 7 continents? All 7 continents covered with people wearing the Rothmans T-shirt. And it's been a great way to sort of not really celebrate us, but celebrate the community that we represent. And it's been a lot of fun. And it makes for great Instagram posts.
Something that's interesting is that coming through global crises, we usually see a shift in consumer behavior and preferences. And this trickles down into style, of course. And there's a lot of literature out there right now about what customers are going to want when they are shopping in full force again at some point in the future, whether that will be maybe a made in America product or more sustainable, or maybe there's a level of frivolousness that they would be into because they just want to go out and have fun. So I'm curious for the group, and whoever wants to take it first, what are you expecting your clients to want emerging out of this crisis? Maybe start with Maureen then, to pick on someone.
I'll say that as the weeks have gone by, my opinion on what they would want when they came out of this definitely has shifted. I remember when we first shut down, all my clients were asking for was sweatpants, obviously, and comfy clothes. And that is not a big portion of my business. It's a portion of my business, but a smaller portion. So we kind of sold out of our sweatpant buy real fast. And I was like, whew, okay, well, when this is all over, women are going to be so sick of their sweatpants that they're definitely going to want to get dressed again. Fast forward to 7 weeks later, and I don't think that anymore. I think they're still going to want comfy clothes when this is over. Maybe a step up from their sweatpants, but they're definitely not going to be looking for, in my opinion, dresses. And, occasions have been canceled. Weddings have been canceled. Graduations have been canceled. So I don't see that being something that's going to be driving my business when we do open. But I do see that emotional pieces are speaking to women, not necessarily just things that feel special, bring up some type of emotion, something that has a message, a heart, like a peace sign, things like that. Lots of color, dramatic pieces have been speaking to. It's like, but then, and it's like two opposite ends. Those pieces have been retailing well and speaking to women and getting everyone's attention. And then the most basics of basics. I have had a run on like the perfect white button-down blouse. We have sold so many we have a great white shirt and we have sold a ton of it. So it's those opposite ends of the spectrum that have really been, we've really been seeing trends on.
That's great. Maggie, I'd love to hear what we should be expecting on the children's wear side of things. So how do you see this shaping up over the course of the next few weeks and months and even into next year?
We are like going to be paying our rent in pajamas, I think. We have a brand in the store that I'm in right now. This is my original location, and we carry items for newborn to 5-6. We have a brand called Kicky Pants that we work with, and they have an expected release happening anytime in like the next couple weeks. We have so many DMs, emails, texts about this release. We've already loaded everything into our online store so that we can just release it as soon as we see that the UPS box is headed our way, because the demand for these PJs has been so high. I will also say we are so fortunate to be, I think, in the kids industry, because babies are being born every day, and all of our registered moms, like, they didn't get a baby shower. Mother's Day for them this weekend is not looking like their first Mother's Day of like what they had imagined. So the desire to celebrate these moms and celebrate these babies is on a whole nother level. And it in turn has really blessed our business. So the baby portion of our business is going to be just par for the course. I think I haven't canceled a single order. I've actually gone through and aggressively ordered through Christmas. And I feel so strong about it. I feel like we're just really fortunate to be in the kids world, because it's just one thing, like, people are still celebrating birthdays. People are still celebrating and wanting to welcome these new babies, and honestly, more than ever. Now, our older girls store, which is the girls 7 to 14, it's definitely been impacted more. That's a store that's like very experience-based, and girls love to try on their clothing. They want to come in, they want to be in the store, they need to try everything on, and mom wants them to try everything on because their bodies are really changing. Sizes within brands are really funky. So what we've been selling the most out of over there has definitely been T-shirts, all types of graphic tees, sweatshirts, and sweatpants. I do not see that changing. The only thing I see changing is we're probably going to sell shorts this summer because it's going to be the hottest summer ever. But I have ordered T-shirts from every person that I can find that makes a T-shirt in America. We partner with 2 young local girls. They're in middle school. They have a company called Abigail Draper Girl. I did a FaceTime with them. I can't see what that says. What does his note say? I can't read it. We have these 2 middle school girls, and I did a FaceTime call with them. And I said, girls, I need you to create and release some new T-shirts. I need all the T-shirts for this summer. And these girls are getting ready to crank out all new T-shirt designs for us. And so it's going to let us provide my customers with something that's easy to sell, easy for them to buy, easy for them to gift. And we're going to, be elevating these local girls in our community.
That's wonderful. I definitely want to hear footwear and men's. So Rick and Ken, I want to hear the trends that you guys are seeing both now and emerging out of this. But you bring up a good point of the vendors that you're working with, developing new relationships and seeking new product and working in different ways with people. So Rick and Ken, maybe as you address the question about the trends that you're seeing emerging in your stores in the future, can you speak to some vendors that you've been working with, how they've been a little bit more creative or how you've been more creative, and the relationships that you're seeking moving out of this? So maybe start with Rick. Rick, I can't hear you, so you may be on mute. I still can't hear Rick. So Ken, if you also cannot hear Rick, I'll just kick that question over to you.
All right. I agree with what was said before about emotional pieces. I think people are going to be looking for things that talk to community, things that unite the community. My favorite T-shirt that was coming out of New York was the one that we didn't do it, but someone beat us to it, was the one that celebrated Governor Cuomo because he's been doing such a strong job in New York. Hashtag Cuomosexual was a great T-shirt. We love that one. But I think that men are going to dress up after this. I know it's sort of a strange thought, but the evolution of men dressing casual for work, because you were wealthy enough that you could sit on a beach and wear sweatpants and a black T-shirt, that has had its time. But now everyone's sitting at home wearing sweatpants might make you think a little bit differently about that. And I think when you're stepping out now and in the future, when things are better, I think men are going to dress up. I think there'll be definitely some more peacock kind of guys walking around and want to show off that they look great. And I think, frankly, they're tired of wearing sweatpants. Going back, Brian, to what you were saying about partnerships, I mean, that is the exciting part. To me, it's the only good part of this is, it's the great reset for certainly the men's apparel business, because it was kind of a broken model in that deliveries were at the wrong time, and also brands became your biggest competitors as a retailer. And, so a brand would come along that you'd help promote, and the next thing you know, they're opening a store around the corner and they're competing with you online. So, retailers let that happen. And, I blame retailers for that. And we let someone eat our lunch. And so the great reset is going to be, to understand that retailers are the lowest form of the lowest price for customer acquisition for brands. And if that's going to work, it has to be a two-way street. So brands have to realize that we're out there showcasing their product, and we need to be compensated for that, either in rental fees or share of the action. And so that kind of reset is actually, I think, a very good thing for the clothing business. And I think you're going to see, it's going to be very easy to see who your friends are in this industry. And I think, that sort of wild, wild west mentality that's going to happen going ahead, it's going to be challenging, but it's kind of fun too.
Yeah, ingenuity and innovation coming out of crises, that's something that, we definitely have seen in recent history. With 2008, of course, lots of different and new exciting sorts of business models came out of that crisis. But speaking of, innovation, I think innovating the way that you conduct business inside your store will probably have to change over time and maybe even indefinitely moving forward. I know on the trade show side of things, thinking about the way that people interact on the show floor and having health as top of mind, that's something that is, of course, top of mind for us as show organizers. So I was curious if each of you can speak on how you see the operations of your store, inside your store, on the selling space changing as everyone starts to reopen. And I'm going to try to kick it back to Rick again, who we had some technical difficulties with, but he appears to be back. Rick, are you there?
Yes, we made it back.
All right,
Thank
great.
you. So
yes,
we looked at it in the way that I had been working in a medical facility donating services for years, and we also do some orthopedic work. So we opened under supplying or handling prescriptions, and from there we decided to put together 16 fitting areas in our store. They're 5 by 5, 6.5 feet high. They're enclosed, 3-sided. We put those up. We took half the chairs out. We got scan infrared thermometers. We scan people when they come in. We have sanitizer at the front door. Our people wear masks. I'm 3D printed shields. And we test them every morning when they come in. We set up paths that people must walk. We ask them not to touch merchandise. It's posted on the wall, all the slat wall, everything's slat walled out, all our displays. And the customers seem to be very comfortable with it. The most important thing is the safety of our staff. and the second is our customers that walk in the door. But we do not let free walk in the store. It's all by appointment, and if somebody does knock on the door, if we have somebody available, we will take them and put them in one of the areas. And so far, it's worked very well. I think this pandemic is not going away. They're talking about a vaccine. It's still going to be probably a couple years down the way. And like I said, in Texas, just started to test some, and we have opened all the way up. They're probably by next week be 50% open. And I think that's just going to make it a lot worse and a lot more deaths. So we're taking it to the extreme measure right now. And like I said, the customers feel very, very comfortable. And most important, our staff feels very comfortable too.
Of course, that's so important, is the staff feeling comfortable of where they work, of course. Maureen, maybe moving this over to you, have you given much thought about strategy moving forward in terms of safety and operations?
We're really looking forward to a point where we can open by private appointment. We have found pre-pandemic that getting clients to book appointments is extremely beneficial from us. I'm a data collector. I love researching things like this. And we know that when we know a client is coming, whether they pre-book an appointment or they simply text us and say, hey, I'm stopping in this afternoon, and we can prepare for them, that their sale triples. So if we could get to a point where we can open one-on-one appointments, we know we could start to do some real business. So we are really hoping that if we can get one, I call my staff, we refer to them as stylists because they are stylists. If we can get one stylist and one client in our appointment at a time for, pre-booked 30-minute or hour-long appointments, we could rock and roll, and we could do it so safely. So that is our phase one strategy that we are hopeful to start out with.
Yeah, and I definitely think that that's a silver lining for what may be either decreased foot traffic due to people being concerned about being in a retail environment, or maybe state-regulated restrictions on how many people can actually be inside a store. And that silver lining is conversion rates should go up with that high-touch level of customer service, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even if we could get to like the 5 people in a store rule or something, we definitely see that driving business. I'm already strategizing like, okay, so we're going to do, I have this tremendous amount of goods that I'm going to need to unload and mark down and get rid of. And normally I know how to do that. I have a big giant clearance sidewalk sale. Well, that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I'm picturing something like 5 women in the store at a time with a giant timer, and you get 30 minutes to shop this sale safely with masks, with hand sanitizer, with the whole thing. And let's shop our sale, and 5 women in, 30 minutes, 5 women out, next 5 women in. And I see that as a strategy working, because it's like a game show. You've got 30 minutes in my store to buy all the sale goods you can get, and then the next 5 women are coming in. So I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to look on the bright side, and what before isn't going to work. That that kind of turn on, turn of customers 5 at a time could have its advantages.
It kind of sounds like peak hours at a gym where you can only go on a treadmill for a half hour, and it kind of reminds me of that. No one seems to mind that, so I think you should be fine.
Right. Right.
Maggie and Ken, I want to kick that over to you, the same question about operations when you do open, but Maureen brings up a good point about sales. So I definitely want to add to the conversation a question about what you foresee happening to maybe inventory excesses due to the fact that you guys haven't been open. So that reality of extra inventory, how are you addressing that? But also, operationally, how do you plan on reopening? So Maggie, if you want to take that.
I'll start with the sale question first. I love Maureen's idea. I think that's genius. I think anything that kind of creates a frenzy and excitement is great. So we might see that happen at Magpies. We're really fortunate. This location, I have a sale rack that probably has like less than 30 pieces on it. I'm not overly concerned about it. It's been sitting in my stockroom the entire time. I've thought about posting it on Instagram. I've thought about doing, an Instagram live or something with it. But I'm like, 30 pieces, I'm just not overwhelmed about it. Now, my other location, I've got a substantial amount of inventory. So I'm thinking we will probably do next week will be all employee re-onboarding, retraining. We have a completely new operation happening. We have completely new procedures. We've got to go over all the safety guidelines, and I want them to feel really, really good about work environment, the way we're doing business, so that following week we can be ready to receive customers. And I think it's going to look like appointments. And I think what we're going to need to do is probably one appointment an hour, and that will give us time to not only really nurture and take care of that guest, give them the guest experience that we need, but also abide by whatever the safety regulations are that we're going to have to do. We've got fitting rooms, so we're going to need to steam every single thing that they do not purchase to get that ready for the next customer. We may even have to leave it for 24 hours before another customer can try it on, and just get the store sanitized for the next guest. And I think we probably will do a period of the day where we have no customers in our store. I am not going to abandon our online operation. It is massive. We are shipping to every state in the country right now. We have been so incredibly fortunate with our online business. And we're going to need time during the day to continue to process, pack, and ship those orders. And we're getting anywhere from 20 to 60 a day. It varies. So, it's going to look different. The most important thing to me is that it remains fun. And, wearing a mask doesn't feel fun, but we're going to need to do them. And so I'm like, what can we do to make up for the fact that, they can't see me smiling. You can't feel, I don't know, this right here is so important to me. I feel like it's what brings us so much money. And so I think just coming up with ways to just really make our guests feel celebrated. And I love the idea of doing talking about it for several weeks. And that feels good. They'll at least know that they're getting like an hour of our time one-on-one. So that's kind of where we're at. We've pivoted and shifted so much. It's going to look like more pivoting and more shifting. And we're going to learn, we're going to make missteps, and we're going to regroup and relearn and try other things.
You mentioned this area right here, and Ken, you mentioned that yesterday as well. You're a very emotive, friendly person, and obviously your staff is as well. So rounding out this question with you, your plan for reopening, thinking about how the dynamic within the store may change, but then also addressing that inventory question as well. Yeah.
I may have to leave now to go buy a 30-minute timer. I think that's the most awesome idea. And the other thing I just learned, somehow, what Maggie just said about somehow make it fun. That is so important because, the one quote, the history of Rothman's is that my grandfather had a store since 1926 and it closed in 1985. And I was a bond trader in Boston, and I came down to just finish the closing, and I ended up reopening the store. It was a crazy idea. I was supposed to go to business school instead. But the one thing I remember from my grandfather, although I didn't really work with him much, was that he said, we're just selling pants. It's just a store that sells pants. So what do you get out of that business? We do sell more than pants, by the way, but what do you get out of that? And it's the community you build, and it's about having fun with the business too. And, I think it's so important that we have to find ways to still make it fun because, the staff walking back in, wearing masks and the customers wearing masks, the key will be to find the humor and find the levity and work on creative ways to make it fun again. In terms of the actual reopening, one of the good points about probably being behind everybody else is we can go to school on everybody else. And there's going to be plenty of information about the best ways to make it safe and healthy. So I'm not, we're reading everything now, but we haven't come up with a final plan. But we're going to, I love the idea of appointment-based, and maybe business will be stronger that way.
So an interesting point that comes out of this is, relating it back to fun and inventory is the idea of getting newness into the store, right, as we approach market season. I'm just curious to hear from the group, maybe starting with Rick, how has this affected your open to buy? How has this affected your mindset on going to market? What sort of products are you excited to see? What sort of products perhaps you may not be so excited to see? So Rick, starting with you, the question about being on the road, going to the shows, the fun aspect of it. What are you looking forward to seeing, and how has your buy been affected in the future?
Well, it's interesting. We use a company called Management One who does our open to buys for us, and they update it every day. We are right now, just in the first 4 days, running about 40% of what we normally do. We rotate our staff, 8 on one day, 8 on the other. We have been talking with a lot of our vendors, and a lot of them are going to keep their product and not mark it down. So I think what we're going to see is a very small selection of spring 2021 product. We're deciding right now what we're going to do because things are coming off a map. We follow map pricing. So it's up to our vendors to what's going to happen. We do go to Milan. We've been twice so far. We used to import when the dollar was 90 to the euro, and then I stopped when it was 160 to the euro dollar. And we brought some things in. I don't know whether we'll be going back. August is all when our orders need to be done. We are looking at Vegas. We have a minor market in Dallas, clothing market, shoe market, and we'll probably go to that one. Here again, it just depends on what travel restrictions we're dealing with and how safe I feel that our buyers can be. And that's, to me, the most important thing. Some of the vendors right now, most of the vendors have laid off their sales staff. So there is not much communication. But we had one vendor who shipped us her samples for fourth quarter. And we did a sort of Zoom program on the product, and we zipped them up and went out the next day, since UPS comes every day. And that may be the future. One of our vendors tried doing digital shoe show, and they never went forward on it because it just didn't take it. Like footwear, you really want to touch it, feel it, see it, look at it, maybe try it on. Hopefully you have a sample size in the store. We're in the comfort business, and it's critical that what we purchase is comfortable. And it has to not only look good, it has to feel good. So we're in that we don't know stage. We're just waiting to see.
Maureen, being in the women's business, seeing how fast the trends move and how important the seasonality is, there are more seasons in the women's business than men's and children and footwear, of course. So I'm curious to hear how you're planning to get newness into the store and how you're looking to steer the ship as you come out of this.
Yeah, I also use Management One, and I've been to help with my open to buy, and I have been relying on them more than ever. Really been relying on all of my team of, consultants. I feel like as small business owners, sometimes it's scary to spend money on things in times like this, but I feel you have to reevaluate your business and choose to spend money on those things more than ever right now. That's just my advice to anyone out there listening. Management One has been so helpful to continue to help plan my business. Resources like this, I've been tuning into every I feel like I'm working more hours and harder than ever right now for like $0. But we're listening to every podcast I can. I've tuned into all of these that you guys have presented, and they've been so great. And several others that I love. I love Whiz Bang. Retailers have a great series of podcasts that I tune into. So relying on all of those things has really helped me know that I have to continue to plan. I have to continue to bring in new products. My customers, I believe, when I open, are going to want new products. The thing that is so unique about what we do, everyone on this panel, is that lots of small businesses closed. but some of those small businesses can reopen with the same inventory. And, you know, when I closed in mid-March, I said I closed my store with green bananas. And in women's retail, those bananas were rotted a few weeks later. You know, it's such a short cycle. The stuff I had in my doors in March just do not make sense by May 15th, June 1st, June 15th, whenever I can open. I will say that the amount of business, the small amount of business I have been able to do, and I've been fighting every day to do all the business I can over the last 7 weeks, I have not discounted. I've held my margins. I've clienteled. I've gone to my loyal customers, and we've held price. Even though everyone else out there seems to be discounting, when you dig deep, and I believe in the products I have, and I believe in matching the right products with the right customer, we have held our margins. We have price matched when we've had to, when the exact same product is out there on a big box store's website, or when one of my vendors has a direct consumer to website and marked it all down, you know, the entire website, we've price matched, but for the most part, we've held our margins. So that has saved me over the last few weeks, but I digress. And going forward, when we do reopen, whenever that is, I want fresh product, and I'm working with a select group of vendors that have carried me through these 7 weeks. It has really been eye-opening and sad sometimes, but mostly wonderful to see the vendors who have stayed in communication with me constantly, and we've partnered together to share these losses, to be true partners and equally share the losses that we've taken over the last 2 months. They've lost, I've lost, we've all lost. And the ones who've really partnered with me in those losses are the ones I'm going to reopen my doors with first, because I do want new product whenever I open. To some of the other people's points, it's definitely changed the face of retail for the better. It's going to be buy now, wear now. You know, I'm not going to be bringing in fall in July anymore, and I'm really happy about that. And I'm excited to bring in new product. I'm excited to, you know, I have fall orders out there that I'm excited about. I'm still excited to, you know, I will be traveling to New York to look at product as soon as I can, you know, as soon as it's safe to do, and as soon as we're allowed to travel. And I don't know, is that answering your question? I talk too much, guys, sorry.
No, that was wonderful. You know, we're coming up on the hour, and usually we end at the hour to have a half hour worth of questions, and we have a lot of questions coming in. So this is my segue into telling Ken and Maggie that we're going to round it out with them and finish up on this question with the two of you guys. So again, to refresh your memory, looking forward to getting newness into the store is the focus of this question. But, you know, Maureen, you just mentioned so many other tangents that anyone can go off of. So Ken and Maggie, if you guys have any ideas based off of what Maureen just said of things you want to talk about, please feel free to round out this hour on those points.
I agree with what Maureen just said. She said it better than I did, but it's all about shared pain, and you really know who your friends are. And it was interesting right at the beginning when some of my vendors said, yeah, we'll hold your orders for fall and we'll ship them to you later in fall, and you know, you'll take it at some point. And my thought was, well, that's going to be a problem because we've missed 4 months of selling, so there's going to be a backup of inventory. And so it was interesting to think that some vendors thought that they weren't going to share the pain, and that's a very interesting tell. And it's something that I look at really carefully. So it's a matter of partnership, and people throw the word around all the time. So it's really what that partnership's going to be. And if any brand has a long-term approach to, you know, building a relationship with a store, they should think about that, because everybody in 2020, nobody's going to make money. It's just a matter of how much you lose. And so realize that in 2020, you're going to lose some money and you live to fight another day. And so there's a lot of creative ways to do things. I have vendors who are talking about taking some of my brand new spring 2020 taking it back, holding it in their warehouse, and putting it out in spring 21, you know, like in things like suits where it doesn't really matter that much. Or people swapping existing inventory for 2020 in spring and bring me in some summer product. So it's all about working together.
Yeah,
That's great. Maggie, go ahead. Round us out.
I totally agree. The initial reaction from some of my vendors was quite interesting. I had one vendor trying to ship me 4th of July pajamas the week of March 16th. And it should be noted that a week before March 16th, our city was decimated by a tornado, like truly decimated. And so that the week the tornado hit, I reached out to all my vendors and I said, do not ship me any of my March 1, March 15 stuff until March 15 to March 30. I need to bump it 2 weeks. Our city is shut down. People are not leaving, and all the efforts within our community are being pushed towards tornado relief. So March 15th rolls around. We make the decision to go completely online, and I have a vendor, and she's like, well, you will take your pajamas. And I was like, they've got fireworks on them. And she was like, well, you signed the agreement. And I was like, we're in a pandemic, and I don't need 4th of July pajamas right now. And then she was like, we're a small business. And I was like, we're a small business too. And it was just this moment where, and I have gotten an email from this vendor every single week wanting me to take these 4th of July pajamas. I'm like, I'll take them in June, because what I bring in, I sell that day now. Now it's like we had golf pajamas yesterday. We sold golf pajamas today. Our business, I hope that the biggest shift that happens in the children's industry is there is more ATS, more items available to ship. I hope I don't have to continue to order 6 and 9 months out on deliveries. I would love to just pick up a phone and call a vendor and say, hey, what do you have in stock? I'd like to spend $500 and get some more PJs or some more T-shirts or some more blue jeans. In the women's and the men's industry, I think you guys have a lot more stuff that's just available to ship immediately. With kids, it's like if you don't buy it, they don't manufacture it. So I'm excited to see a shift within our industry with more stuff that's just available and immediately there to ship. More core. I don't care if it's a core product. We don't need different types of blue jeans every year. Just keep recutting the same styles. They sold great. Kids grow out of them. There's a whole new wave of kids growing into them. I hope that the kids division simplifies. I hope that, well, I'll say what else I hope. And so far it's been really positive. I'm not receiving any shipments right now unless these vendors are giving me terms. And I'm getting net 60 on almost everything. I'm getting free freight on almost everything. And I'm getting a 5 to 10% discount on everything that I'm taking, sometimes 15%. So I hope that the willingness to negotiate continues to be there. And I will continue to work with the people that are willing to negotiate. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, stop treating the relationship as a zero-sum game. I think that's a lesson that I'm taking from everyone on this panel. And with that, we're at the hour, so almost hit it right on the nose. It's 59, almost 2 o'clock exactly. So thank you to everyone for being efficient in your responses. I'm just taking a look right now at some of the questions coming in, and there are quite a few about health and safety, and I think that's pretty unsurprising, of course. One type of question that we've received a few times is about trying on clothes inside the store, so how you would deal with that, but also how you would deal with returns. So, Rick, you were saying some really interesting things yesterday about try-on stations and things that you guys were experimenting with and the plan that you had moving forward. So maybe start it with Rick, and then everyone can just chime in on your plan for fitting rooms and returns.
Well, like I said, we put together 16 fitting rooms. We are a sit and fit old-fashioned store, 83 years old, one-on-one. And one of the advantages of what our modus operandi is to have fun. So even with masks and shields on, when we take the temperature at the front door, I'll take the temperature and I say, well, you're still alive. And that starts the smile. And once the smile starts, you're home free. We're a destination store. We're not in a mall. People drive to our front door. And I think that the safety issue is just so important. We do disinfect every night. We were able to find a spray that we spray all the fitting rooms and all the chairs and the doors and everything. And so I just think it's like I said, you have to make the customer and your staff feel safe. Safety is right now the most important thing, and it is just critical. And I feel, you know, they walk in and they think that basically they're in a medical setting. We hate to do that, but it's what is important, and feels that intimacy. You're actually in a smaller area, and you're there, feel a lot more intimate and feel a lot safer.
Anyone else have any information they'd like to share on fitting rooms or on returns?
I mean, from everything I've read, and just from, like, I'm no expert in this, I want to start by saying that I have heard a lot about steaming the clothes being the safest, you know, it being researched that if you have, you know, a steamer, a commercial grade steamer, that at that temperature, if the clothes are steamed, that safely kills any, you know, makes them safe to try on again. But I'll say two things. This is one advantage that I'm going to take as a small business owners. I'm going to let the big guys do it first and watch what they do. I took this advice from another small business owner. He said, you know, let's see what the big guys are doing. Let's see what the department stores, how they're going to handle try-ons and those things. And let's watch how they do it. And then we can follow suit. This is one time when, you know, when us as small business owners can, you know, let them take the lead and see what works and doesn't work. So I'm kind of watching to see how they do it too.
Yeah, Ken, you had mentioned that that's one of the benefits of being last to open in the epicenter of this pandemic, right? New York is going to learn many lessons from the rest of the country. Have you given any thought to returns or anything yet, or are you really just collecting data at this point?
At this point, I'm still collecting data. You know, there's so much out there, like Maureen's saying. There's information beyond information about this, and let's find out what best practices are and move from there. I'm sure when we do get around to it, we're going to have, you know, first-class safety operation. And one idea that I did like, that I read somewhere, that I stole from something, was each store should probably have, there's a better name, but a pandemic safety officer. Appoint one person in your company to be that go-to person and let them become the expert.
It's actually a pretty great idea. A lot of gems popping up, a lot of advice in this conversation. That's fantastic. You know, thinking of best practices, a question that has popped up a few times is specific to masks. One of which is simply, I'm curious to know if any of these retailers are selling masks. So is anyone currently selling masks, or will that be a part of your inventory and your buys moving forward?
I'll speak to that. I waited and I waited and I waited because I wasn't sure exactly how I felt about it. But then one of my favorite vendors, who's based in New York, created some really cute tie-dye masks. And I was like, and she's been shipping to me all through the pandemic and really came through for me big time on Easter. And I was like, I love these masks. They're adorable. I think we could custom patch them. They're really well made. We have a custom patch machine. And I was like, we're going to bring these masks in. I want a cute mask. I want all my customers, if they want to be able to purchase masks. And so we are going to offer masks. I think they were supposed to ship around the 5th. So I feel very differently about them now as I did about 3 weeks ago. I was getting an email virtually every day from the vendor. We have masks. We have masks. We have masks. And it kind of felt gross, I'll be honest. But something just rubbed me the right way when I got her email, and I was like, these are cute. We're selling them. I want to offer them. So we will have them for sale at mass size and children's and adult sizes. We're not going to mass market them. And the mask company that we partnered with, they are giving a portion of their sales to some form of COVID-19 relief. So.
We did put the mask in and haven't had much response to them. I think most people come in with masks. The one thing we have done is we've, like I said, 3D shields. And we do that, and we've been sending them to from our friends in retail and getting ready to open up, and we charge them a donation to their local food bank for them. And so far, we've had 5 retailers who have taken advantage of it, and we've got a couple more friends. So that's sort of what we've been doing to try to help their local economies and to help them, because the shield does make I think if you notice in medical settings, the advantage of it is that you don't have to change your mask. If you're dealing with somebody and they're symptomatic and they, if they like here have to come in, they don't have to have a mask, then the shield protects them, then we don't have to change masks every time we talk to a customer. So I think it's just an extra safety level. So we've been sort of supplying some product, some health product to our friends, and they're taking advantage of it. And we'll see how that works because they're all getting ready to open in the next 2 weeks.
Yes, sanitation, sanitizing product is a topic that's popping up on the questions here. A specific question, so Rick, staying with you, it's specific to shoes, but we can open it up to everyone, asking how to sanitize shoes that are tried on but not purchased. So starting with shoes, but if anyone feels any sort of way about apparel or accessories, please feel free to jump in.
Well, footwear is a little different because it is, and we require them to have socks or hose on, so that, and our staff touch them and have gloves. You don't get it through pores, you get it through inhaling, you get it through your mouth and nose, and you can actually get it through your eyes, from what I understand on that part. So we literally, we've tried different sprays and have decided it does affect the leather or the fabrics. And because of the safety features that we're taking, we're really pretty comfortable out. And you asked about returns. Our returns right now have been basically when we sent out the wrong shoe or it's the wrong size. Because we fit inside the store, our return rate is very, very, very low. So that's really not a problem for us. We just feel we've taken enough safety measures that we don't have to do anything to the footwear.
Maureen, you mentioned steaming, so I don't know if we need to get into apparel any deeper. So unless the group here has any comments they'd like to add, I'm going to move on. So anyone want to add anything to sanitizing products? Anything?
I have one thing I'd like to say. I found, a friend who has a store here in Nashville shared with me this ozone machine, and I've ordered it. So we're going to plug it in. We're going to alternate each store each night. And it's hospital grade. It was around $100. I found it she found it on Amazon, sent it to me. I think that's going to help. And then I found a online medical supply company and found some different sprays to look a lot more intense than like a Lysol. And so those have not arrived yet, but we're going to be also using that as well.
So we have some questions coming in from brands specific to how you plan on meeting with brands. Of course, as a trade show organizer, I'm going to start with a hope at informal shows, of course. But I'm going to open that up to the group, how you plan on meeting with vendors to conduct business moving forward. But also, second part to that question, if you're speaking to new brands, we spoke about how important pre-existing relationships are, how it's not a zero-sum game working with your brands, but anyone looking at new brands at this time?
At the very moment, no, but very excited to see new brands because this is a brave new world and we're going to have to find new things, and people are definitely going to be looking for excitement and what the next trend is. And I still believe that if you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. So you have to always keep finding that better mousetrap. And so we'll be completely open to working with new people as long as they understand that these are difficult and different times.
We work a little different philosophy in that we actually take our bottom third and review them, our vendors, and we literally probably will drop a third of our vendors every season. And then we go out looking for something new, or we expand the vendors that we have. We work on a little different turn philosophy, very high turn for our shoe industry, usually 2 points higher than average. But we targeted certain brands that maybe 6 months ago they would not talk to us because they were oversold and they're locked down. And now I think we'll be in a position to probably hit some of these brands, maybe a little younger than what most of our brands are. And so I think it's very incumbent. You have to have it's even in the footwear industry, you have to have something new. Even if it's a color or a material, we may have the same style for 15 years, but it's that one or two items that they're looking for to make it a little bit better and make their eyes feel happier.
I'll also speak to this. While I think our customers are going to be more gracious this year than ever before, I think that they all still want to be surprised and delighted by new and fresh things. And one of the things that's always made our stores do so well and be so successful is the rate of sell-through. And the reason we have such a wild sell-through is because we bring in so many new things, so many different things. I don't buy, deep in anything. We buy like a size run, and when it sells through, something new comes in. So it is really crucial for me. While I am willing to buy some core things, we've got to have pops of new. I actually stayed up until like almost 4 a.m. the other night placing. I think I probably placed like 16 orders for all new brands that I was just like, you know what? We've always wanted to carry them. Let's see if they'll say yes. Every brand said yes. We got approved to carry every brand we wanted to carry. And some of these brands we haven't been able to carry in the past. So new is incredibly important.
Yeah, there's definitely.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I would say I agree with all of those things. And, the art of buying is something that probably all of us love. But I would say, I would just like to add that the big shift that I've always known, but this was a harsh reminder of, is that while I love clothes and I love the art side of my business, any new brands, any old brands, anybody I carry in my store going forward, this was a great reminder that this is a business. And as beautiful as your clothes might be, we're doing this to make money. And so every new brand I bring into the store going forward, it will be about margins. It will be about sell-throughs. It will be about how are you going to help me make up for the tremendous losses we all took, the industry took in 2020. If you can help me do that, new brand, old brand, let's do it. Let's do it together.
You mentioned the art of buying, putting that against obviously being business. And a really fun question came in that sort of relates to that. So bear with me as I try to synthesize it. It was a little bit long. It's about video chats. If there are some opportunities for selling products that are specific to a time where we're all on video chats. This person asks about jewelry, accessories. So I'm curious if anyone has thought about the way they dress for a video chat. Maureen, you're wearing bright color today, as is Rick. So I don't know if that's an intentional thing for a video chat, but have you thought about how that might affect your businesses, this new world of video chats?
Yeah, we've definitely had women asking for blouses. And I definitely got out of my sweatpants and put on a real shirt today for this. And it felt good, actually. And I've had to remember that when I'm, talking to my customers and putting stuff out there, that it does feel good to get out of your pajamas and put on real clothes. And that will resonate with my customers too. But we've definitely had women asking for clothes for Zoom calls. It's a real thing.
I've had a bunch of customers call me and ask, for shirts and things that would make them look a little better on their Zooms. I know that probably applies a little less in the kids business and even less so for Rick in the shoe business, because if it's in the shoe business, the camera is facing the wrong way. Getting those calls all the time. What can I wear to look, cool on a Zoom call?
We've got a few questions coming in around drop ship. We talked about vendor relations being so important. So to summarize some of these questions, are you guys taking advantage of any dropship programs? Is this a part of your strategy since the outbreak? And any general thoughts on dropship as a third-party retailer who takes pride in what they curate within their four walls?
I'll gladly speak to that. We have had several brands reach out and offer that to us. I haven't moved forward with any of them because I am a psycho and I like to gift wrap all of our stuff and package it all like perfectly gold standard to the Magpies brand. And it concerns me the thought that somebody might go online and place an order for things that we have, and then the vendor has the one random, outlying item, and it's going to come from them. I don't know how quickly they're going to ship. I know how quickly we ship. I know how it arrives and how it looks. So I haven't moved forward with any of it, but we did do a virtual trunk show where the vendor sent us all the images, all the text. We uploaded everything online. We did it on a Sunday night, and we put all of their product up. They offered to drop ship it all to our customers, for a fee. And I just said, I don't want to do it for a fee, but ship it to me for free, all the orders, and we'll ship it direct to our customers once it arrived. It probably only added 2 days to the process. But the virtual trunk show was a massive hit. I mean, it was 3 days worth of sales that we generated on a Sunday night. And it cost me no money out of pocket. I only paid for what I sold. So I do think that dropship, especially in the kids world, is a thing. And I think that vendors are willing to do it. I think stores just have to figure out if it makes sense for them.
Yeah, that my big issue with this, because I've been offered this a lot too, is vendors are happy to do this or want to do this because they're sitting on product that they want to sell and they're willing to ship it for you. But guess what? We are sitting on product too. And how do I justify you drop shipping product to my customers when I have a massive amount of product in my stores that I need to sell? It's a real catch-22 because I know that some of the products I could have these virtual trunk shows with are a little more appealing and a little more seasonally appropriate right now than what I currently own. And I could probably sell them. But at the same time, I'm really trying to focus on selling what I already own. So is it going to cannibalize my business when I offer them new shiny things and not what I own and need to sell? So I don't know. I caution retailers out there to really take a look at only doing them if it's not going to take away from the stock that you've already owned and paid for or need to pay for.
And Brian, one more thing on that, adding to what Maureen said, the biggest issue to me is the third-party dropship thing is, listen, what do we as retailers really have? We control our customer base. We have their contacts. And to hand those over to vendors who are even friends, it's probably not the best thing in all cases. So that's something for people to really consider when they get involved in these sorts of programs.
We're starting, because we have an online presence, and we're starting to use that because it makes it a lot quicker. We have the 10,000-pound gorilla called Zappos and Amazon. And so if we can eliminate 3 or 4 days, 5 days from having to have it shipped to the store, we always used to want to have the customer come back. But in this world, customers will come in once. I don't know if they want to come back in to pick that shoe up. They'd much happier to ship it to them. So it's sort of a catch-22, but because of our online presence now, we're starting to use it. Those vendors who have it, not everybody does have it.
Got a few operational questions that came in. A very interesting one that we actually, as a group yesterday on our pre-call, we discussed a little bit, and that's talent acquisition. We have a question here. Can panelists speak on new talent acquisition? Are retailers still hiring? buyers at all levels in the pandemic and other positions throughout their operations. So how do you guys feel about talent acquisition coming out of this pandemic?
Well, I'll add one thing, which is, fortunately, I was able to duck the digital call because I think we're terrible at our digital, at our online selling. And that was something we were really remiss about because, we were always a true old school brick and mortar store. But we used this opportunity to hire a superstar who happens to be out of work right now. And we have that person going full force right now, and I expect to see dramatic changes within a week or two.
We're in a very enviable position that we had all but one person come back in both stores, and that one person was a salesperson, and they actually make more on unemployment. So we were very lucky. I did say one thing is that now's the time for those people who did not come back or refuse to come back. There are a lot of people out there who are looking for jobs. So you put an ad out, you're going to have so many resumes. You're going to have the choice. We can probably really upgrade your sales associates in your operations and everything. So it's good and bad.
I'll speak to this too. I feel really great about if we need to rehire, being able to rehire. We will have a better idea of that in about a week. But our business has changed so much. I don't even feel, the core values are never going to change. And the way we serve our customers, like the heart of how we serve our customers, never going to change. The method and how we're doing it, it does all just look really different. But I know I have a much better idea of what we really need to get through this year, what is essential, what we're able to kind of let go of, and what employee roles really need to be looking like. We're going to need to readapt some things. So I look forward to onboarding back as many of our team members as they feel comfortable to come back. But if for any reason someone doesn't, I am excited about the opportunity to get to hire, because I do think there's some incredible people out there who have been, terminated from their job or their business has closed, and they're qualified people. With this many people on unemployment, it's not because they weren't doing a great job. They're talented, they're smart, they have something that they can contribute. And I also think like our social media presence throughout the whole pandemic has really given people a peek into our brand, to who I am, to what we stand for. And I think if we do need to hire, I think we would get just some incredible people in our stores.
We're seeing a few questions pop up around international vendors, both branded, but also on the manufacturing side of things. There are some questions specific to Rick about footwear's dependence on China. So to try to summarize all of them, because there are quite a few here, how has the pandemic sort of affected your mindset on shopping internationally or sourcing internationally? Do you have any stories of the way that you've been partnering with brands currently? Any projections on the future? Just an open question to your international brands that you deal with and sourcing international product.
We find that a lot of our vendors have been slowly moving out of China because of the cost of doing business there. They're now in Vietnam, they're in the Philippines, Thailand, they're going to India, Turkey, all over the country. We've found that we're already finding that we're getting our fall buys already put in. We have to buy 6 months in advance. When we go to Vegas for Magic and Platform, people say, well, do you gamble? And I said, oh, yeah, I gamble a lot of money 6 months in advance. That's how the shoe industry does. We don't have that just-in-time ability. We started going back to Europe, and I think hopefully we'll be able to go back. One of the problems that we have is we're competing with 90% of our vendors. Any major vendor has their own website, and we're competing with them. So if we can go out and find brands that, number one, don't have websites and sell direct, or we can find product that is not everywhere we have right now, two that we're the only ones in the country that carry that product. And so if we can find that and differentiate ourselves from everybody else, that's what makes us different.
Anyone else want to tackle the international question? Okay. Just poking through the rest of these questions here. There's dozens of them, so we probably have time for one more. So bear with me for a second here. There are some questions about how you guys are looking to give back, or maybe not give back, but also partner and make accommodations for your vendors. You have spoken about how vendors have made accommodations for you. Maggie, you specifically spoke about terms, getting net 60 where you can, and being very open and establishing a dialogue. So maybe we'll round it out on that as the last question here. How have you guys thought about working hand in hand with your brands and making accommodations for your vendors?
I mean, I think
I'd like to speak to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, sorry, go ahead, Maggie.
Okay, sorry. I'll be quick about it. I'd like to know what accommodations they want. I mean, I've been asking for accommodations very specifically, saying, I'd love to place an order. I'm going to need net 60. Really love free shipping. And if you want to throw in a 5 to 10% discount, I'd love that too. That's the tone. That's the language. And they've been super responsive. None of them have responded with, okay, we'll do that, but. So I'm open to, I do believe that it is a real partnership. I also really know my value though. I've been in this industry. I mean, I've owned my stores for 6 years, but I've been in this industry since I was 18 years old. I know I'm good at marketing. I know I'm good at making their brands look good. I know I'm good at telling the story of their brand. When my customers come in, they know everything about that brand. So I know the level of value that I bring to the brands that I carry. And so I'm more than willing to be accommodating towards them. I would just love for them to approach me the same way I approach them. I mean, I offered a deal, and they can offer me a deal. It goes both ways.
Maureen, you wanted to jump in there?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, when this first hit and it was so scary and everyone kind of panicked and went into self-protection mode, I definitely sent out a mass email to all vendors, like, cancel everything. I can't take in any goods, all that. And then I really did have to ask myself, like, tough questions, like, what does being a true partner with these vendors mean? It is a two-way street. And I don't want these vendors to go out of business either. What does that mean for me? And that was a really tough question to ask myself. Like, what do I have to do for them if I'm going to ask them to do this for me? And that was a really big step in moving things along with these relationships with my vendors. So after a week of letting my emotions settle, I got into really great conversations with, lots of my vendors. So the way I have personally partnered with the vendors is on existing invoices, money I owe them. I'm not going to be selling these invoices. I mean, this product that I paid full price for at full price. We both know that. So we started with discounting current invoices together at something that we both could agree upon. And those are the invoices that got paid first. And then that's the product that I'm going to be bringing in first at a discount. And the little bit of money that I had, that's where to pay invoices with, to bring a new product with, those are who I'm with first. And that's where the money's getting spent. That's where the new product's getting brought in. So I stopped canceling everything all at once. I started paying some invoices when they could offer a discount on current invoices, when they could offer a discount on future invoices. And it was different for every vendor. Some vendors couldn't offer a discount on current invoices, but they could offer bigger discounts on future goods. Some some vendors couldn't offer a discount on current invoices, but they were like, let's take some of those goods back and let me send you fresh goods on a discount. It was different for every vendor. So we just had really honest conversations about what worked for them and what worked for me. And it was very different with every vendor. And it was very time consuming for me to talk with every single vendor about my biggest issue, which was the massive amount of goods I currently own, their biggest issue, which was all the spring goods they were sitting on, all the fall orders that they were afraid I'm going to start flashing. And we just worked it out one by one. What's their biggest priority? What's my scariest priority? And we became true partners. And we both walked away from the negotiating table, neither of us thrilled. That's how I knew it was fair. I wasn't 100% happy and they weren't 100% happy. And that's how I knew I was being a true partner.
True dialogue, true honesty, true compromise. That's what it sounds like here. And with that, we're over a couple minutes on time, so we're going to have to call it here. Definitely want to thank each of you, both the panelists, of course, but everyone who logged in for taking the time to both share your insight and to receive that insight and even ask questions. So thanks to everyone who joined. And with that, Elise, you can bring us home.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you to all of our panelists. We do want to mention that we have a robust schedule of webinars coming up, including one on fashion law amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, and that will be on Tuesday, May 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please check our website, fashionframeworks.com, for more information and how to register. And just as a reminder to everyone, this presentation will be emailed to you and also be available to watch on demand on fashionframeworks.com. Thank you all, and we'll see you hopefully next week.
Thank you.